There's an absolutely wondrous story that is told about the Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Mendel, that they were walking through a desert of some sort, and Rabbi Mendel became extremely thirsty. He was parched and thirsty and in fear for his life because there was no water in sight. And he started to feel agitated and upset with the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov took him to this place. And so, in frustration, he said to the Baal Shem Tov, "Why did you bring me to this place? My health and life is in danger. I'm dying of thirst." The Baal Shem Tov didn't respond, and this made Rabbi Mendel even more agitated. They continued to walk, and the pain was getting worse. And he reached a threshold where he once again automatically expressed his frustration to the Baal Shem Tov about the circumstance. "I think I'm going to die. I need water immediately." And the Baal Shem Tov responded to him and said, "Don't you have emunah that from before the 6 days of creation, from before Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, Hashem knew that Rabbi Mendel would walk in this land? And don't you believe that Hashem would have already provided for you the water that you need?" This really agitated Rabbi Mendel, and he had enough. And he didn't say a word, and he continued to walk frustratingly, upset with the Baal Shem Tov, upset with the circumstance, worried and scared. So, as he was walking, eventually he remembered who he was walking with, the Baal Shem Tov, and he came back to himself and he thought about what the Baal Shem Tov said, and eventually he looked at the Baal Shem Tov and he said to him, "You know what, Rabbi? I do believe that before the 6 days of creation, Hashem knew that I would be walking in a place like this, and I do believe that Hashem already had the water prepared for me." The Baal Shem Tov looked at him in the eyes and said to him, "If that's the case, then the water will be here soon." Over the horizon, there was a man, and this man was searching for his camels. Lo and behold, the man. Hine, and behold the man, like in the Torah. Hine, v'yar, behold, and he saw. There was this man, and this man came to them, right in their direction. And he said, "Excuse me, I've been looking for my camels for the past 3 days. Have you seen them wandering in the desert? Do you know their whereabouts?" Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Bar said, "I'm sorry, but we haven't seen it. We're so parched. We're going to die if we don't have any water, though." And this man was a generous, nice man, and he said, "Oh, I have plenty. Here." And he gave them water to drink. They were satiated, and everything was calmed down. As the Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Bar walked in the desert, Rabbi Mendel said to him, "Rabbi, it's incredible that the water came once I came back to my emunah and bitachon in Hashem. And I believe that Hashem truly had a kindness in store for me even before I was created, even before the world was created. But I wonder, why is it that this camel owner needed to be wandering in the desert for 3 days and needed to tell us that? Better, seemingly, would have been that he would have just came out to the desert today to look for his camels. So why did Hashem do it that way? Why is that a piece of information that Hashem let us know?" The Baal Shem Tov said to him, answered him, "The reason why the camel driver was out for the past 3 days was in order for you to know that the entire time that we were in the desert, Hashem had the solution waiting for you. And it was just a matter of you coming to your bitachon, your trust in Hashem, that the solution was there, that instigated, that created the reality that the water which was already present would come in your direction and be provided for you." So this story I've loved for a couple of years now, and I feel as though I lived it in a small way. So many weeks ago, my kids had a siyum, maybe even a couple of months, maybe something like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And a part of their siyum was that their incredible Rebbe wanted to show them nates. And I think, so the sun coming over the horizon. My guess for the reason why he wanted to do that was because they were learning brachos, the Mishnah of the Mishnayos and brachos, which talks about Netzachama in the first Mishnah, well, really in the second Mishnah is where it's mentioned, and in the first Mishnah it talks about the beginning of dawn, where it's much darker than that. So we went there, and I wasn't thinking. I was wearing my hat, and it was super windy outside, super duper duper windy outside, and I wasn't thinking. And we went out. It was right on the lake, and we were having a great time. I was watching the kids. I was kind of hanging out near the Rebbe, watching them. They were looking for cool stones and having an absolute blast. It happened to be way too cloudy for anyone to see the sun. You could only see that it was getting a little lighter outside. But it was a lot of fun, and the waves were crashing like crazy. And there happened to be a kind of like a, almost like it wasn't a bridge, but stones that went, like high stones that you could see in the picture were going into the water for a certain distance in such a way that the water wasn't covering it, and you could safely walk on this, I don't know what you would call it, platform, stones, makeshift platform, stones maybe. And everyone was going on there, and they were getting wet because there was tons of waves, and it was very windy. And I decided that I would go on, right? Have a good time with the kids, have a good time with this Rebbe. So I went on, and then I was like, you know what? I should really get a picture together with my kids. So I asked the Rebbe to take a picture of us. So you can see the picture here. He takes the picture, and as you can see, we're all kind of like holding on to our hat, trying to, like, so to speak, it's like crazy windy. Maybe you could tell by the beard. I can't see the picture right now. And the next thing you know, the hat, first what happened was my son's yarmulke flew off. And I said, Nachum, where's your yarmulke? And he said, the wind knocked it off. And then I looked in the water, and as I saw his yarmulke, the next thing I saw was my hat fly off right into the lake. I don't know if I said river, right into the lake. All the horrible waves. And way too cold to go in, it'd be super dangerous. And the Rebbe quickly jumps off the bridge and goes onto the rocks and tries to grab it, and he almost grabs it. And the next thing we know, we're watching a story of a truly ownerless object. The moment that it gets swallowed up by such a big body of water, it's swallowed up into the abyss of this lake, and everyone's watching the waves crashing into it, and it seems to come closer, and it goes farther and closer and farther. And I say, what can I do? It's Hashgachah Pratis. Hashem doesn't want me to have this hat anymore, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm miyayish it.
Oh no! My hat's in the water! Oh no! My hat's in the water!
And it was time to go. This was a hat that I got from my wife for my birthday the previous year. And I thought to myself, what can I do? No hat. It is what it is. So we went home, and I said to him, it's okay. This is what Hashem wanted. And, Meretz Hashem, I'll buy a hat. Over the past few weeks, I actually ended up going to Chicago 2 times. And both times that I went, I didn't have enough time to go to the hat shop. I couldn't buy a new hat. And it's expensive to buy a new hat. And I was wondering to myself, this is a tough situation that Hashem took my hat away and had it swallowed up in the lake, but it's got to be for the best. So before this Shabbos, I was thinking to myself, oh man, I got to wear this. So I've been wearing a 15-year-old hat. A hat that I received as a gift from a friend of mine, actually the first hat that I wore 15 years ago. It's dilapidated, it's running out of its blackness, some of it is kind of tinted red, and it looks silly. And it doesn't look honorable for Shabbos for sure. For the weekday, you can get by with it, but on Shabbos, it's really not something super nice. But I'm still grateful that I have it, and I wore it for many, many years, but it's not honorable for Shabbos, really. And as Shabbos was coming in, right before Shabbos, oh my gosh, I don't have my hat. And I checked my car, oh, I don't have my hat. And I was getting ready to go to shul, and I thought to myself, I said to Hashem, Hashem, I don't have a hat, but I'll go to shul without a hat, and I'm sure you'll provide me with a hat when I get there. And I'll look honorable for Shabbos. I trust that you'll provide me with a hat. 3 minutes before candle lighting, I realized, why don't I just ask my sister to have her husband bring one of his old hats for me? Those are much nicer than my hat, even though I don't have it today. I don't have a hat at all, but they're relatively nice. Or they are nice. They're very nice. Just they don't fit me well. They're very big for me. So she actually happened to not shut her phone off yet, and she responded, "Let me ask my husband." And that's all I heard from her. She didn't say anything past that. So I said to my wife, "We'll see what happens. I don't have a hat. I'm sure when I get to shul, Hashem will provide me with a hat." I went to shul. I saw my nephews. I asked them, "Does your tanti have a hat for me?" They say yes, in the shul. So I go into the shul. I stop by his thing. He gives me a hat. And I don't even think about really looking at it. And I put it on. And I'm like, wow, this hat fits me like a glove. Is this uncle's hat? Is this my brother-in-law's hat? What is this? It fit me so well. And I davened. And afterwards, I went over to Uncle Yosef and said, "What is this hat? It fits me so well. It's amazing." And he says to me, "It's yours." I said, "What do you mean it's mine?" He said, "You need a hat, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "In the summertime, my son, Eli, who's 11 years old right now, was the last kid to leave camp. They were in a sleepaway camp, and he was the last one in the saying goodbyes. And his counselor said to him, 'I'm buying a new hat tomorrow. You want my hat?' And at the time, he was 10, so he had no need for a hat, and he wouldn't have even bought this kind of hat, right? You know, when he's going to get a hat, his parents are going to buy him a new one. And so he said, 'Yeah, sure, why not?' So he gave him the hat, and he had no use for it. So since the summer, this hat has been sitting in their basement collecting dust. There's literally seemingly no use for it. So Uncle Yosef said, 'I remembered about this hat sitting in the basement.' I asked Eli, 'You don't want it, right?' He said, 'No.' So it's yours." I couldn't believe it. I just got a hat. The same way that I lost my hat for free in the lake, Hashem blew a new hat into my life. And it's crazy to think that it was waiting for the day that I had no hat at all for Shabbos. I wanted to greet the Shabbos more appropriately. And I trusted that Hashem would provide me with a hat. Not only did he provide me with a hat to borrow from someone, but he provided me with a hat that literally fit my head, and I like more than even the previous hats that I had. And this counselor in the camp thought the hat was too old. And when I look at it, it looks totally new and amazing to me. I cannot believe that someone would give it away and not want such a nice hat. So what makes him think that way? Hashem. Because Hashem provided me, just like Rabbi Mendel Bar, Hashem provided me with what I needed and let me know that it was sitting there waiting for me for something like 6 months. It was here in Milwaukee waiting for me, and Hashem knew that there would come a day where Avner would not have a hat on Shabbos and ask Hashem to provide him with a way to honor the Shabbos and look nicer. And then Hashem just showed me that the hat was waiting there for me. Amazing. Holy Hashem, Kitov, Kilam Chastoi. I send my praises to Hashem because Hashem is good and His kindness is forever, and it comes even before time existed. Here's the new hat.